صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. Last week we learnt about how the Muslims and Jews in Medina lived together peacefully and about the build-up to the Battle of Badr. We finished the episode on a cliffhanger. Do you remember what happened? Yes, the Quraysh army of 1,000 men marched out of Mecca to fight the Muslims. Do you want to know what happened next? Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's begin. When the Prophet realized about Abu Sufyan's caravan was approaching, he understood that it posed a threat to his community. As the chief of Medina, it was his responsibility to keep the Muslims and Jews of Medina safe. Therefore, he gave an order to raid the caravan, and a number of his companions joined him. They reached Badr, an area of 80 miles from Medina, where trade caravans passed through. Abu Sufyan realized the Muslims were coming, and so he took another route. Instead, the Prophet and his companions faced the huge Quraysh army. They thought they would be raiding the caravan and were not equipped for the battle. There were only 313 of them, including some young boys. They only had a few weapons, 2 horses and 70 camels. The Prophet held a meeting to see how the Muslims felt about what was happening. The Ansar, the helpers of Medina, found themselves facing a new challenge. They decided that they should support the Prophet and his companions in the battle and began to prepare. The Muhajirun, the Muslims migrants from Medina, were also eager to join. Even when he was preparing for the battle, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam set an example of fairness. 2 Muslims on their way back to Medina had been captured by the Quraysh army. They were set free as long as they didn't join the battle. When the 2 men reached the Prophet's group, he ordered them to stay out of the battle, even though they needed all the help that they could get. As the battle began, the Prophet made this prayer: O Allah, if these handful of your slaves perish today, there will be none until the day of judgment to worship you. The battle took place on the Friday, the 17th of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted the Muslims his divine help. He gave them the courage and confidence they needed, and also sent down rain the night before the battle, which helped the Muslims. The area was very sandy, but the rain made the ground firm and easy for the Muslims to march across, and helped them feel more comfortable on their feet. The rain was much worse on the Quraysh side, which made the ground muddy and marshy and slowed them down. Anybody would have guessed that the Quraysh would win. After all, there were 1,000 men of them, and they had lots of weapons and equipment, and only 313 Muslims who weren't well equipped. However, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, The Muslims fought so well that the Quraysh suffered a heavy defeat. The chiefs Abu Jahl, Utbah Shayba, and Umayyah ibn Khalaf were killed, and 70 Quraysh were taken prisoner. Even though the Prophet's own uncle Abbas and his son-in-law were part of the prisoner, they didn't receive any special treatment. All the captives were treated equally well. When the war was over, the defeated Quraysh went back to Mecca, feeling gloomy. They promised to take revenge on the Muslims and began to prepare for another attack. With Abu Sufyan as their new leader, the Battle of Badr is of huge importance for the Muslims, and it reminds us to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to do the best we can in our responsibilities. It also reminds us to think of the prayer for those around the world who are facing hardship and war. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send them peace and ease. I hope you enjoyed these episodes about the Battle of Badr and learned some new things. Next time, we'll be learning about another battle, the Battle of Uhud. I hope to see you then, Insha'Allah.
Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.